So one of the first things I did was research, right? I am a researcher by nature, and that's what I did. I did my research. Like, you always hear like it's so much cheaper if you just live in other countries, and you kind of hear it or whatever, but then you gotta do your research. Like, is it too good to be true? Like, what are they really doing? How's it working out? And so that's what I did. And my research consisted of YouTube, right? I know that's crazy, right? Because now I'm sharing my story here on YouTube, but ultimately that's what I did. I was following Aja Arrow. She was once here in Merida. She now lives in Mexico City. I was looking at Sheeta on the Loose. She lives in Mexico City. She once lived here in Merida. Who else? The Wanderers, Lotus Living, like a couple of them. I'll try to tag them all in the description box below, because they were amazing resources for me. Like, I even would like comment, ask them little questions like about the tourist visas, laundry, all those sorts of things. I would ask them, and it just worked for me, right? So I did my research. I looked online, looked at all the websites online. If you type in expat wherever in the world you want to go, so expat in Portugal, expat in Merida, Mexico, Playa del Carmen, wherever, Costa Rica, you will find tons of people who've already been on this journey. You can kind of use them as a guide to help you along the way. And that was one of the things that I really focused on, was looking at other people's experiences, as well as kind of intuition, and I went off of that, and that's how I ended up here in Merida, Mexico. Well, how I started my journey here to Merida, Mexico. So also, while looking at my like the YouTube videos and like gathering research, I mean, I was journaling every day, everything that I found. One of the things I did was I put together a budget, right? And if you see my video on how much it costs me to live here in Merida, Mexico, the budget I set for myself was greater than it was greater than that. And so I really tried to figure it out, and I really wanted to save at least a year of my expenses, as well as ensuring that I had adequate monthly income to cover my expenses, so that when I moved, I was prepared for whatever may come across. Now, can't be prepared for everything, but as prepared as I felt comfortable. I hear some people will say, oh, you need, at least $200,000 to move abroad. I guess it depends on where you move, and I guess that depends on how much you're comfortable, having. And if you want me to do a video on like what I think a good amount is, or like what my savings budget was, I can do a separate video for that, because it honestly depends on the person, and it depends on like, just like what you feel comfortable having while The next thing I did was purging. Oh my God. So a bit about my journey. I moved from Los Angeles to Dallas in June 2019. And when I moved, I pretty much got rid of almost everything. I moved with like a pod, which was mostly like toys, tax documents, kitchen products, stuff like that, and a few pieces of furniture, right? And so I felt like I did not have that much stuff. That's what I felt like, right? So when I made the decision that I was thinking about going on this journey, I realized one of the biggest tasks that I saw everybody like blogging about was the biggest thing they were looking at was getting rid of stuff, right? Whether they were selling it, whether they were putting it on Mercari or Poshmark or Facebook Marketplace. That was like the hardest thing to do, right? So I said, okay, I'll try to be methodical about this, right? So I said, okay, I'll go closet by closet first. I'll do the best I can to just like downsize, pare down on clothes, pare down on shoes, like I really didn't want to keep a storage. And like I was talking to my daughter, I'm like, I don't know if we want to keep a storage, but in the end, I did end up keeping a storage. And it was because ultimately for tax documents and some other things for another project I'm working on. And so I was like, oh, but I don't want to keep like a big storage. I hear people with like $300, $400 monthly storage bills. And I'm just like, I'm not about to pay a mortgage to hold on to stuff that I can't use, right? And so far the storage has been beneficial. I will just say that just going back a few weeks ago for a wedding, it was the winter time and we had to go to Connecticut. And literally this is probably the most clothes we wear on a typical day. It's just like a sundress, a t-shirt dress, swimsuits. Like, we really don't wear a lot of clothes here, or boots. I mean, flip-flops, sandals every day here, or barefoot. And so, you know, having that storage there is really beneficial. Like, even though my weight fluctuates, like coats, outerwear, always going to be like something that we're going to need and that we're going to use. In Dallas being my hub, it just works out for me. So I think that the other thing was just getting rid of stuff, you know, realizing, do I really need this? Am I holding on to this because I need it, because I like it, because one day I may wear it, or like, and I just really had to separate the things that I needed, the things that I wanted, and the things that were just stuff, right? The easiest thing for me to get rid of were things that were too little or too big. The second thing was just toys that my daughter was not playing with, had outgrown. So just things like that were just easy to get rid of. And then I started going through closet by closet and realizing, oh my God, we became an American family. We're just holding on to stuff that we don't even need. Like, we're just keeping it because I may need it. I may come back to it. And the reality is sometimes you just either go buy it, or you forget about it and you do something different, or it's just, honestly, it's just wasteful, right? So that was the other thing that I really focused on, was really paring down on things, A, that we were gonna bring, that we needed to bring with us, B, things that were gonna go in storage, C, things that needed to go to Goodwill or to a family member or a friend, and then D, things that we could just sell to get extra money, right? And that was really the most important part, was trying to figure out what we really needed and starting that process early on. So I wasn't down at the last minute still trying to get rid of stuff. And while I'm saying that some of these things I did like step by step, I was doing a lot of these things like simultaneously. Like, I joined Facebook group. So one of the Facebook groups I joined was like Black expats in Mexico, and another one that I found out about was the Brothers and Sisters of Merida. And then through that group, I actually ended up in a Melanin Moms WhatsApp group, which is kind of like been my lifeline here. Honestly, shout out to the Melanin Moms of Mexico. Like, that has been like my lifeline here. You got a question, you can go in there and somebody has an answer. Somebody's had a similar experience. Oh my God, like, they could start charging an entry fee and I promise you I would pay it. Like, it has been literally like just a great resource to have, as well as the Brothers and Sisters of Merida, another excellent resource. And as people find things or things change, there's always like information updates, and it's just like, it's such a community that it's just so great. You know, it's just, in addition to that, they're Black like me, so that even like helps. I'm in other expat groups and they're also great, but for some reason it's just like having a brother or a sister there for you. That just feels so much better. So joining those Facebook groups, finding a network, building a tribe, even before I got here, and I was kind of like, hey, coming, don't know when exactly, but I'm on my way. And they were like, okay, and like, just listening to the daily conversation. Sometimes I didn't have a lot to contribute, but just kind of hearing what was going on and the experiences. They were always open to answering my questions, even though sometimes I felt like, oh my God. And I would always apologize, like, I'm sorry. I know this may be like a crazy question, but what do you do if? And there's always something like, don't worry about it, da 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 da. And they would just give me the information and I would be like, thank you so much. And it was great. I truly love that. The next biggest thing was like putting dates on paper, right? Like, putting dates on paper was kind of the hardest thing to do, because once I put dates on paper, then I had to purchase the tickets, right? Oh my God, like I had to like purchase the tickets. Then it was real, right? You can say anything and everything and like, keep moving about your life, right? All at the same rate. Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. But as soon as you make an actual date and you have these deadlines that you set for yourself, right? Like, the accountability really shows up. So once I'm gonna notify my apartment that I'm moving out. Okay, that was a date. And then, and I got COVID in the middle of that. And shout out to my apartment complex, because they were really cool. And then I was like, okay, this is the day I'm flying. Okay, this is the day that I'm doing this. And when you purchase those tickets, right? Purchasing the tickets kind of set it in stone for me. Once the tickets were purchased, I felt like there was no turning back. Now, how much flight credit do I have? I have so much flight credit. Could I have taken some more flight credit? Yeah. But for some reason, those tickets for the move abroad, those tickets were like non-refundable in my mind. Like, non-refundable, non-transferable. Either the money spent was the money spent, or it wasn't happening at all, right? And so that's what I did. When I purchased the tickets, and I encourage everybody to purchase the tickets. Like, when you purchase those tickets, it's kind of like everything else doesn't matter. I remember, like, right before, I got no sleep. I mean, I was grinding, like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I got it all done. I don't know how I got it all done, but I got it all done. And that was the beauty of it, holding myself accountable, and then seeing my dream seeing it come to fruition was like the most rewarding point of it all. Okay, so this may be the hardest part for a lot of people, right? And for me, I don't think it was so hard. And I'll say why it wasn't so hard. I left home and joined the military when I was 18. I did it without telling anybody. Okay, well, at first I didn't tell anybody. I told my grandma, right? And then 2 days before I was supposed to go, my grandmother passed away. And so then at that point, like a week before, my grandmother passed away. So then we're having my grandmother's funeral, which was like 2 days before I was supposed to ship to basic training. And so then I said, well, I guess I better tell him. Since, the one person I told, I probably should tell other people, right? Because then they're going to be like, yada, yada, yada. I had planned to leave maybe a voicemail, make a phone call, or something. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just know my family wasn't a fan of me joining the military. Not that they're against it. We're actually totally a military family, but it's just, I just know they were going to be like, you're in college, you're doing good, you're stable, you're great. Like, why are you joining the military? Child, that's another story for another day. But, and I didn't want to have that conversation with them, or at least I thought it was going to be scarier than what it really was. So I finally told my family I was joining the military, and I did, and I went, and it was great. And then when I got out of the military, I moved to LA. I was in El Paso. I moved to LA instead of going back home to Arkansas. I was married at the time, and my husband was in LA, and so that was okay. And then moving from LA to Dallas, they were kind of like, okay, you're coming back home. But even then, they were a little apprehensive, like, so you can't get even closer to home or closer to a relative? Because I was the only person in Dallas. They were like, why Dallas? Like, we know you can get a job closer. Like, why Dallas? You're still kind of far away. And I was like, I'll be okay. And I was. Ultimately, I was. They were just like, it's just you and the baby and the dog. And they're like, why be so far away? We want you closer. And I was like, it's okay. Got family in Oklahoma City, they're close. Family in Arkansas, they're close. I'll be okay, right? And then when moving to Mexico, I was just like, I'm doing it, because every time I've made that decision to just step out on my own, it's always been so rewarding for me. I knew I had to do it. And while I'm here, I have little moments where I'm like, this is exactly why I did this. This is exactly why I came on this journey. And so I can't remember what holiday it was, and we were all together, and I was like, okay, family, just want to let you know, I'm moving to Mexico. And like, everybody was like, cool. I had one brother, he was like, the cartel gonna get you. I'm like, the cartel don't want me. Y'all ain't got no money. They don't steal people who don't have money. No, I'm just playing, just all jokes. I don't know who the cartel steals, but I'm just like, I think I'm gonna be okay. And so I'm like spouting off statistics and da 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 da. And I'm just like, my research, I'm just giving all my research. And, and they were all like, okay, cool, you're moving to Mexico. And I was like, cool, I'm moving to Mexico. So then I'm telling my best friends, and they're all like, okay, go do it. Like, they're just not surprised, because they're like, if anybody was gonna move clear out of the country and across to the other side of the world, it was you. We knew it was you. So I was just like, okay, thank you for being the bestest best friends. And I know a lot of people are apprehensive, and a lot of people have people that have a lot of fear in their circle, and that may be hard for them. And I'm not saying that's probably the next step for you, but it felt good for me to have them informed, and B, like, their support. And with the family and friends, I'll also say that the first person that I communicated with before my family and friends was my daughter's dad. And in our co-parenting relationship, I mean, he's so cool. We have like probably the best co-parenting relationship that I know of. And he was like, okay, like, we were asking, he asked questions, and I let him know, hey, anything you want to ask me, you could ask me, as I found our house, as I found, things. I just kept him informed, because I didn't want him to feel like he was out of place. And I felt like he doesn't care. I feel like there's always a trust there between him and I, because of just who we are and how our relationship works. But I did the best I could to keep him informed, send him pictures, updated on her education and things like that. And I think communication was the biggest piece. But he was the first person I talked to. People always ask me, well, did you ask his permission? And I always say, no, not really. I didn't ask. Didn't ask his permission. But I also feel like it was kind of one of those situations where I didn't need to. So if you have like a situation that's like that, where you feel as though maybe you do need to ask that person's permission, you might need to sit down and have an in-depth conversation with them about what your goals are for yourself and for your family, and let that be a conversation that has to be had before you make that decision. And it definitely needs to be part of your planning phase. Like, you can have it all planned out and then get ready to fly, and that person was like, you can't exit the country with my child, right? But then, you don't want to get there. But thankfully, shout out to my co-parent, if you watching. I really appreciate that he is supportive of us having this journey, and his daughter getting this experience. But that's another part of the planning phase that was really important for us as a family making this move. Okay, and the last step was moving. I mean, honestly, it was literally just, the last step was just doing it. I mean, if you see my TikTok, you'll see we had 4 checked bags, 2 carry-ons, the dog, and 2 backpacks. That's what we moved with. Like, that was everything that we moved with. I know, like, there's some expats like, girl, you move with all that stuff? Yes, okay. I'm not a nomad. I'm not like moving around. I knew I was moving on a 12-month lease that I was gonna make happen. I knew that was happening. So yes, I moved with everything that we needed for our comforts. My stuff to work from home, some toys, clothes, everything the dog needs. I mean, I moved with everything that I thought that we could absolutely not live without. And anything else that I thought that we may possibly need, I put at the front of my storage. So when I go back, I could just grab that and bring it back as well. And that's how I did it. I mean, that's ultimately just moving. I moved. And once I moved, every day just kind of just came together. Every day made sense. Every day gets a little easier. Every day my Spanish gets a little better. Every day we got settled. Homeschooling is now just a part of the daily routine. And now that we're at this part, I mean, this is normal life. And I love it. Every day is is beautiful, you know, even, you know, the days we plan to do one thing, we decide to do something else. It's just like the freedom. Now that I've experienced the freedom and all the sunshine, this vitamin D has been so great for me. I am so happy that I did it. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. Again, please comment, subscribe, and like. Thank you. Until the next one. Bye.